But listen, but they figured it out.
Who's
Koreans have figured it out.
Yeah, well, what...
코로나의 새로운 변이인 오미크론이 출현하면서 단계적 일상회복으로 접어들었던 전 세계가 다시 심각한 국면을 맞고 있습니다. 최근 빌 게이츠는 자신의 블로그에 힘들었던 한 해 이후 낙관을 품는 이유들이라는 제목의 글을 올렸는데요. 해당 글에서는 여러 변이의 출현과 백신 접종 지연으로 팬데믹이 예상보다 길어졌다면서 많은 사람들에게 계속 마스크를 쓰게 하는 일이 이토록 힘들 것이란 점을 과소평가했다고 인정했습니다. 그리고 전 세계 각국에서 지난 2년간 맞서온 코로나 대응에 대해 무엇이 옳고 그른지에 대한 생각을 하며 많은 시간을 보냈는데요. 아직도 해결하지 못한 문제에 대한 여러 가지 의견이 나오고 있지만 유일하게 변함없는 진실은 한국의 대응이 옳았다는 것입니다. 지난 몇 년간 한국을 강의 주제로 다루며 미국에서 큰 화제가 된 교수가 있습니다. 미국 펜실베니아 주립대의 샘 리처드 교수는 아무도 한류에 관심 없던 때부터 한국을 주목하라고 강조해왔습니다. 그리고 지난 8일 한국의 코로나 대응과 미국의 차이점에 관한 강의를 했는데요. 또한 코로나 사태를 넘어 총기 소유에 관해 한국인들이 어떻게 자유를 지키고 누려왔는지에 대해 학생들과 토론합니다. 샘 리처드 교수의 강의 영상을 번역해 공유합니다.
Korean government's putting out some really rock solid numbers. Okay, so I know people in public health, working in public health in Korea. I know people in the government in Korea. I mean, they're very accurate numbers. Okay, 390,000. So we got to multiply that by 6, and we have 2.3 million. The deaths are a little over 3,000 deaths. Okay, and they calculate deaths in Korea, COVID deaths, exactly how we do. If Korea had the same population as the United States, these are what the numbers would be. And look at those on the far right. So, first off, look at the second column, the cases. Huge, huge difference. And then look at the deaths. Okay? Now, I'm not saying this is good or bad. For me, I'm not even going to throw an opinion out here. It doesn't matter. So, can you say something about these numbers in light of freedom, individual liberty, and government power?
I guess the first question to ask is probably like what nationwide efforts were done in Korea that made it such that they had, much lower numbers even after we scale them up to our population size in the US. It's more so just based off how you frame the discussion. I mean, also things to consider are like, how do people, like, what's the geography like in Korea, where people live, how tightly they're packed in certain cities, how spread out they are in rural areas. There's like a lot of different variables to consider of why you might have more or less spread. But then, if we're talking about like...
But that's good. Good that you're bringing, there are a lot of things to bring up.
I think like something that could be really interesting is like to think about, I really don't know that much about the Korean government, but like wondering whether there's like more like controlling policies over the population. Like, are there like more like laws that, for instance, will prohibit someone from going out if they test positive for COVID or things like that? And also from like, and so like just asking like whether there's like a higher government control or less government control. And I think it'll be really interesting, for instance, again, I don't know what the answer is for Korea, but like if there was less government control in Korea, maybe what has been driving these factors could also be individual decisions. Maybe there's like a cultural, there's a big cultural difference, and so people have a higher personal responsibility, and without the need of control, maybe through cultural changes, people have been making maybe the decisions to stay at home or things like that that have also been driving this.
Okay, let's go off on that for a second. There's an inflection, a personal inflection toward the community. Just like people in Korea are much more likely to wear a mask to protect other people. Like you put your mask on, it's more likely that as you're putting it on, you're thinking, I might have COVID, I want to protect somebody else. In the West, as you put a mask on, you're more likely to say, hey, somebody else might have COVID, I don't want to get it from them, I want to protect myself. So there may be something going on whereby there doesn't need to be a lot of government control because people are going to automatically act in concert with one another in a way that's beneficial toward the larger group.
I think, perhaps in Korea you said a lot of their COVID numbers are very trustworthy. Maybe you're trying to indicate that they have like more trustworthy leadership at the higher levels than perhaps we do in the US. I mean, a lot of things about masking in the beginning of the pandemic, where there was a lot of talk from our leadership saying like, oh, you know, we think these things don't work, when I think it's personally pretty clear that that was never really the case.
Well,
Not
hang
to
on.
get political,
But the
like you
idea is
wanted to, but-
at the very least here, there were mixed messages. On one day, it's like, hey, wear masks. The next day, don't wear masks. Da, da, da. It's back and forth, so everyone's confused. So here, without a strong, there you got a strong government. There you've got a belief in science. Korean people are highly educated in the world of science. So you, as a physics math major, bro, you would appreciate that, right? You would fit in well. Believe that the scientific the leaders of society, of Korean society, root more of their ideas and their policies and so on in science. In the science of, hey, listen, we're going to try to control this thing using the science of public health that we know, and we're going to go forward with that in mind. So maybe that's stronger government, right? It's like saying, hey, we're going to build our government around here, and we're not going to give you over there, these folks on this side. You're more likely to listen to us. Here, from like the moment you come out of the womb, it's almost like we're injected with something that says, don't trust your government, don't believe your leaders. It's like, that has consequences, because there are certain moments when you need to trust your leaders. Do these numbers to the two of you seem really, really seriously skewed in two different directions? 18,000 and 753,000. Like, when you look at those, like, what's your gut?
I do think that they look really similar. Again, just like by the first impression that they give, like the fact that once is like the difference between of them is like, it's really just like really hard to compare. And like if you start thinking like, for instance, like maybe the economic situation in which like the lives of like that each person is going through, like the fact that there's like I don't even know how to do that math in my head, but like it seems like there's like what, like at least 5 times 4, like at least 20 times more as many cases, and like I don't know, I just think that's really large. Like that's a lot, like to have it there, like and that it can just be the responsibility of the government and the policies that they're taking,
or the responsibility of the individuals. This is part of the origin of the United States. Freedom has a cost. Okay, for Korea to control guns in the way that they do via a strong state, that has a cost. Because Koreans can't own the guns that they want to own, and there are other ways in which their lives are controlled. But that has a cost.
So I think this is really interesting. Like if you think about it, like this is obviously the perspective of the price that like you have to pay in the United States to have a gun, but like also if you think about it, there's some benefits to it, right? Like the fact that you can have a gun, like it's definitely something that is going to bring you more security. So again, like I like that you mentioned these are things that are like more facilitated here. So like for instance, it's easier for you to like prevent a robbery, right? You could think about that. Of course, you would have to look at the data and see like how many robberies have been prevented because of the use of personal weapons, for instance. But like I think that's why like people support the use of weapons here, like because of those reasons, that like because you have that autonomy to protect yourself, to basically have like a very powerful, because like a weapon is something very, very powerful if you think about it, right? Like it's something that by just pulling a trigger you can kill someone or many people. So like I don't know. I just think it's a complicated balance.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. This is good. But look, in Korea, you got 246 deaths if they're the size of the U.S., okay, by guns. You don't need to protect yourself. Like, what are you protecting yourself from? Nobody has guns. Like, what's the point? It's like, so at most what you're saying is to the people in Korea who want to own guns, who first off don't even really want to own guns, because most people in Korea, just like most people in Colombia, I mean, people who aren't from a gun culture are like, why would I need a gun anyway? So like, all right, why do I need a gun? So they're already protected. There's only 246 people died a violent death if it's the size of the United States. So like, in a way, that argument is moot, because if you lived in that world, it's like, okay, well, I don't need a gun then. Let me move on with life. Right? But the point being, I'm not making an argument against guns, right? Understand this. That's not it. I'm going like, this is freedom. Is the price?
I don't know. I mean, personally, I kind of like to flirt with anarchy. So, taking all guns away in the U.S. is like, I don't really personally see like how that would cut down on violent crimes that are potentially associated with like organized crime, where
Okay.
people could access guns in illegal ways. I don't think we should have like no restrictions on guns.
But they do. But listen, but they figured it out.
Who's they?
Koreans have figured it out.
Yeah, well, sure, I guess it's a very different culture.
No, I got you. But
Yeah.
you know
and
what
we
I
have
mean, right?
baked into like our founding. And
Yeah, I got
whatever
you.
that we're all big on guns and we have more guns than people and
Yeah,
all
all
that.
that kind of stuff. Yep. And so we're backing in this way, but the issue is we got to find this balance. And the question is the price? Is it worth the price?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Like a lot of people who say like, oh, we have guns in the U.S. to prevent from government tyranny is like kind of silly when our military is like pretty well armed. I think practically the purpose of having a gun would be more effectively used in like case of self-defense, home invasion, hunting,
Okay.
that sort of thing.
Okay, right. All right. So, and if we didn't have so many guns, we probably wouldn't need to worry about those things anyway.
전 세계는 코로나 초기부터 위기가 닥칠 때마다 한국 상황을 롤모델로 삼고 있습니다. 또한 백신 접종률만으로 상황을 통제하기 어렵다는 의견이 나오면서 남을 배려하는 한국인의 민족성이 실제로 환자 발생을 억제하는 요인이 됐다고 분석하고 있는 것이죠. 많이 힘들어진 시기에도 서로 돕는 한국인을 응원하면서 오늘 준비한 소식 마치겠습니다. 여러분의 소중한 의견을 남겨주세요. 바쁘시더라도 구독과 좋아요 부탁드립니다. 지금까지 단골이시였습니다. 시청해주셔서 감사합니다.